Morning guys, hope you're doing well. Welcome back to my channel. I realize I actually haven't uploaded in the last three weeks, but hopefully you find this video useful. Like, comment, subscribe, and do all that social media good stuff. In this video, I'm quickly going to talk about how I go into investment banking and what are 5 steps that you could take that would increase your chances of landing a job at an investment bank. So how did I actually land a job at the biggest investment bank in the world? Let's take a step back. Let's start all the way from the beginning. For my undergrad degree, I studied management sciences and finance, which is a business degree where you get to actually do different kind of modules. You get to do finance modules, data analysis, a bit of coding, a bit of operations. So you get to do everything. And for my undergrad degree, it was compulsory that you did a placement year, which is a year-long internship where you work for a year to get work experience. Or you could do a year abroad at a different university of your choice based on the options the university presented. So I decided to do a placement year just because, I really didn't want to travel and I knew I wanted to work at a big bank, so I was like, why not? So I started applying. I got rejected so much. It got to a point where I stopped applying around Feb, whereas I was meant to start my placement in September. I just stopped applying because, number one, my CV wasn't done properly. My cover letter was very shit, and I actually didn't know how to interview. So there was no way I was going to get a job at a big bank. I was honestly deceiving myself. But what I ended up doing was emailing a Nigerian bank based here in London. I said, hey, do you have any free spaces? I'm willing to take on interns for a year. And I got invited for an interview, and that went well. And I started working there in September. September comes and I'm put in the credit and market risk department of that bank. And it went really well. I learned so much. I really developed my confidence talking to people, understanding different finance concepts. And then after that placement was done, I went back to university to finish my undergrad degree. I then came back to the bank to work for around 3-4 months because we were short staffed. I needed people. Bearing in mind, during my final year at university, I applied to do a master's degree just because, although I studied a business/finance degree, I didn't get enough core banking knowledge, and having worked at a small bank, I feel like there's a lot I still didn't know. So I went on to do a master's degree, which was very, very good for me, just because a lot of times when people say, oh, they got a job because they had a master's, it's not the master's itself that helped you get the job. It's not because you had a master's on your CV. It's what comes with having a master's, which is the knowledge. And when you have that in-depth knowledge about something, you appear more confident, and as such, you're more likely to be hired. So it's more of a correlation effect, not causation effect. I was doing my master's. Within that year, I was also applying for different jobs. Now I was applying to just investment banks. Every investment bank I saw online, I probably did like top 50 investment banks in London, and I just applied to all of them. So after applying to different banks, and honestly, I think I applied to every single bank there was, from JP Morgan to Goldman Sachs to ING Bank I applied to every single bank, and eventually I got a hit. I got invited to a telephone interview, video interview, assessment center, and then 2 final interviews. And I managed to get a summer internship at a big Canadian bank, well, the biggest Canadian bank there is. You could probably guess what it was. So I interned in the market risk department there, and I did that for, I think, 3 months. But because of my master's was kind of conflicting with the internship, I actually started a bit late, and I finished the internship and I didn't get a return offer, which is, for anyone that's had that happen to them, is very heartbreaking. But I wasn't upset about it, just because I left that internship with so much knowledge that I felt like I could work anywhere I wanted to. I felt like nothing could stop me from getting a job at a bigger bank than where I was. So finished that internship in October because I started late, and I kept on applying for banks, applying again, and I ended up getting an interview for the biggest bank in the world. So I had 5 different interview stages there, and I ended up getting the job. So as you can see, my journey into investment banking wasn't the typical route where a lot of people are able to just intern at a bank, get a return offer, and then start. I had to work at a small bank first, do a master's, intern somewhere, get rejected there, and then apply directly for a full-time role and get that. So everyone's journey is different. Now let me quickly talk about 5 steps I think you can take to help you land a job at an investment bank. From my journey, you can see my route wasn't the straightest. So the first step I think everyone should know is, how do they actually want to get into an investment bank? Define your route. If you're currently in your first year university or second year university, I would highly recommend, and also if your university offers a placement year option, I would highly recommend doing a placement year or summer internship, because that's the easiest route to get a full-time return offer, just because there's more positions. Getting a straight on full-time role is very hard because this is very limited and there are particularly 1 or 2 places throughout the whole year. Secondly, you need to have the belief. You generally inside, deep down, need to believe that I can get this job I'm applying to, because if not, there's no point applying. And if you end up applying and you have no belief and you end up getting an interview, it's going to come across because you're going to appear less confident, less enthusiastic about the role, and you're probably not going to get a return offer. And I think people not having belief stems from the fact that they think they're not good enough to get the role, which is why step 3 would be for me to try and develop knowledge about finance and banking concepts as early as possible. Even if you're doing a history degree or, I don't know, a music degree, and you want to get a job at an investment bank, I would recommend spending free time or finding time to start learning about this concept more and more. Because although banks hire from diverse backgrounds, they're going to hire you based on the level of competency you show during the interview stage. So if I have someone that studied music and I have someone that studied history, and they're both the 2 candidates going for one role, and the person that studied history is able to articulate and stand their ground when expressing finance opinions, that person is going to get the role over the other person. And it just comes down to showing a higher level of competency. The third step is you need to apply everywhere and you need to apply early. There's this thing where a lot of people feel like they can just apply to the top 5 investment banks in the world, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, Citibank. They think that's enough. Whereas if you actually look at the probability of landing a job, it's so low that it really doesn't make sense not to increase your chances by applying to a lot more places. Although it's going to be a lot more work, I think that's the only guaranteed way you stand a chance in the job market to land a role, because you'd actually have to be so exceptional that you apply to one place, that one place is going to invite you for an assessment center, and after that assessment center, you get interviewed and you land the role. It's very unlikely. A lot of people have to fail first, apply to 20 different places. I'll say for me, I probably apply, like I said, I probably apply to every single bank there was in London, both small, boutique, mega cap, like I applied to everywhere just because I had to increase the probability of me getting a job. I couldn't be selective. But this is step 5, and this is actually very important. You need to learn how to interview properly. This is regardless of what division you want to work in. Selling yourself during the interview process is the way you get the job. You need to practice interviewing a lot. What I did was, when I was applying for my summer internship that I eventually got, I had a list of around, I think 50 questions, both motivational and competency, and I practiced speaking to the camera and answering those questions almost every day. That's because although you can't predict what interviewer is going to ask you, you increase your chances of having answered those questions before if you have a bank of questions you practice every day. And that way, even if the interviewer asks a question you've not heard, because you're so used to speaking to someone or speaking to the camera, it's very easy to reply and give a good answer. So just to recap, we've covered 5 different steps you could take to increase your probability or chance of landing a job at a top investment bank. The first step is having the belief. The second step is to know what entry route you're gonna take. Are you planning to convert a summer internship / placement year into a full-time offer during the second year of university, or are you planning to apply directly to a full-time role? Third step is to apply everywhere and to apply very early, because this will increase the probability of you landing a job. The fourth step is to learn finance concepts as quickly and as early as possible, because this will improve your competency and this will come across during the interview process because you're going to be more confident. And the last step is to practice interviews regularly. And on a final note, I think people need to realize that getting any job is hard, but getting a job at an investment bank is extremely hard. And that's because they need to make sure they're hiring the right person for the job, because they're going to pay you well above the average or well above what other companies pay. So you need to be able to want that job really well. You need to be able to work really hard to get that job. It shouldn't come to you easy, because everyone wants that job. And to be able to stand out from a bunch of people takes a lot of time. So don't be discouraged if the first time you apply for a role, let's say a summer internship, you will get no offers. Just keep on going at it. Keep on trying to improve your finance knowledge. Keep on practicing interviews, because eventually you're going to get that one shot, and that one shot is all you have, and you have to take it.